Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Board of Education business meeting. Today is Tuesday, November 18th. The time is now 7:05 p.m. If we could please all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming. With me this evening, I have board members Jasmine Pressey, Ashley Gulyas, Janine Randolph, Kara Bakey, Sherry McCready Pritchett, Mary Ellen Flaherty Ludwig, and online we have Howard White. Also with us this evening, we have Dr. Estrella and her full cabinet. And with that, I am transferring the meeting over to Ms. Bakey for a spotlight evening.
Thank you, Chairwoman Carpio, and good evening, everyone. Tonight we have one spotlight, National Native American Heritage Month 2025. The Norwalk Board of Education is proud to recognize November as National Native American Heritage Month. National Native American Heritage Month is a time to celebrate the rich and diverse cultures, traditions, and histories of Indigenous or First Nation people. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, as of 2023, there were 574 federally recognized tribes in the United States and 7.4 million American Indian and Alaska Natives, making up 2.2% of the population. Early on, it was believed that the name Norwalk came from North Walk, a day's walk to the northern edge of the land purchased from the Native Americans. According to the Norwalk Historical Society, maps from the 17th century show reference to the Merrimack's indigenous people who lived in the area and labeled the area as Norwalkie, meaning point of land. At the time of English settlement, it is thought that there were between 200 and 300 indigenous people living in the area. On February 26, 1640, Roger Ludlow entered into a treaty with Chief Mahakamo of the small Norwalk tribe of the Siwanoy and purchased all lands lying between the Saugatuck and Norwalk rivers to the middle of said rivers and from the sea, a day's walk into the country. In subsequent years, many indigenous people became enslaved, indentured servants, or were forced to move from the area. Since 1990, Congress has authorized an annual presidential proclamation that designates November as National American Indian Heritage Month to encourage all people to learn about the indigenous peoples of the North American continent. Similar proclamations under various names, including Native American Heritage Month and National American Indian and Alaska Native Heritage Month, have been issued each year since 1994. By declaring this National Native American Heritage Month, the Board of Education encourages our community to learn about and honor the history and culture of Native Americans here in Norwalk and across the country, as well as Alaska Natives and Native Hawaiians.
Thank you, Ms. Bakey. Now we have public comments. The list is on that table. Okay, so there's no one listed for public comments. Is there someone?
Good evening, everyone. So for public comments, please state your name and address before you speak, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Yes. Good evening. My name is Angela Hidalgo. I live at 158 Perry Avenue. I am a parent at Silvermine Dual Language School. I am here because the integrity of the dual language program, which is the reason why many families chose Silvermine, is being changed without transparency. First, major alterations were made without informing parents. The longstanding model of 2 English teachers and 2 Spanish teachers per grade has been reduced in 4th and 5th grade to 2 English teachers and only 1 Spanish teacher. This impacts the 50-50 dual language model. Parents were not notified, consulted, or given any explanation. Because of these concerns, I started a petition for the restoration of the 50-50 model for all grades. As of today, there are 157 signatures from parents and school community members who want the original model reinstated. I have also been seeking basic clarity about what our children are currently receiving. For over a month, I have asked for detailed outline of how the dual language model is currently being implemented. Instead of receiving that information, I was given quote unquote upcoming language allocation schedule, which does not explain what students are actually been receiving since September. This raises serious questions. Have students been without Spanish intervention for the last 3 months or even longer? I also asked whether students in grades K to 3 are receiving all components of the program as promised. That information has still not been provided. As a parent, I do not know whether my daughter or any child is receiving the full dual language program we enrolled in. Tonight, I am asking this board to please look into the current implementation of the dual language program at Silvermine. Specifically, are students receiving a true 50-50 model? Have interventions and other services?
Ms. Araldo, you've got
due
30 seconds.
And why were parents not informed of changes that affect instructional time in each language? Families deserve transparency and assurance that our children are receiving the program the district advertises and promises. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We've got one more.
We have one person online. And the name is Daisy Sebastian. Okay. Daisy, you can unmute yourself.
Yes, hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Good evening. My name is Daisy Sebastian, and I live at 127 Perry Avenue. I know you just heard from a fellow parent about our dual language program, which is why I am here again to advocate. The Silvermine Dual Language Program is a 50-50 model of instruction. Half the instructional minutes are conducted in English and half of the instructional minutes are conducted in Spanish. Silvermine uses a team teaching model. Each student has a team of 2 teachers, 1 English and 1 Spanish. There is a lot of information, and I only have 3 minutes, but you can find the rest on the Silvermine Dual Language website, which is where I'm directly reading from. Furthermore, the West Rocks Dual Language Program promotes bilingualism by literacy and cross-cultural understanding through instruction in both English and Spanish. This pathway features 50-50 immersion. Students spend half their day learning core subjects in English and half in Spanish. Core content in Spanish subjects like social studies and science are taught in Spanish, in addition to daily Spanish language and arts instruction. This is the flyer I'm directly reading from that is being handed out at the West Rocks Middle School open house. Here's what's really happening in our schools. To remind you that our dual language program runs K to 8. Our 50-50 model no longer exists in the 4th, 5th, or 6th grade. Parents have reached out to the school administration, to Dr. Estrella, to the Board of Education. No one is listening to us, and we're feeling very unheard and very frustrated. No one is taking ownership of this huge problem. No one is acknowledging that this is a problem. No one is offering solutions. On the contrary, I have emailed both Dr. Reynolds and Senora Paredes with no direct responses. My emails are being ignored, and Silvermine parents are being lashed out against. You would think that the leaders of these schools would be the first ones in line to advocate for our incredible program. How do you expect these students to become bilingual and biliterate, especially those coming from English-dominant households? Furthermore, we used to have a lengthy wait list trying to get into our school, which hasn't existed in years. We used to have teachers who had been there for 10, 20, 30 years, and they have all left. We cannot fill our teaching positions because they are unhappy. I want to further tell you about how not only is our 50-50 model research-based, you can please research it online, but I personally have a daughter in the 9th grade. She went through the dual language program, the 50-50, true 50-50.
Ms. Sebastian, you've got 15 minutes.
K to 8th grade.
15 seconds.
She is currently in Native Honors Spanish 2. Native Honors Spanish 2. She has been raised in an English-only speaking household. So if that is not evidence of how imperative it is for you all to please pay attention to the parents who are advocating to bring back the program that is not only on our dual language website at Silvermine, but it is also on the flyers being handed out at the West Rocks open houses. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else who signed up? That's it? That completes our public comments.
Okay, thank you. Now I'd like to introduce Dr. Alexandra Estrella for the superintendent's report for the evening.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We have a number of items that we would like to present as part of the superintendent report. The first piece is around the 2025 Next Generation Accountability data, and there's a number of things that we want to celebrate today, particularly some of our schools who have made great achievements, particularly schools that have been identified as schools of distinction for high needs growth, as well as schools that have grown into level 2 category. And we have those school communities here that we will celebrate. Ms. Filardo provides some context about the accountability metrics and how they impact the work that we do within our schools. Ms. Filardo.
Good evening, Dr. Estrella and Board of Education. I'm very happy to be here to discuss our accountability.
I think pointing that way, no?
The Next Gen Accountability has been part of Connecticut's ESSA plan, which is Every Student Succeeds Act, since 2017. And the plan, the whole goal of the plan is to help students get to the finish line and graduate high school, college, and career ready. On this slide, you see the theory of action, the clear intentional plan. And there's components to it. It's inclusive. It goes beyond looking just at test scores and graduation rates. It looks at post-secondary entry. It looks at access to college and career ready courses. It's also transparent. And that means if there's public access to all of this information. This allows anyone in the public to go to EdSite public and to compare the next generation reports of their school to any other school in the state of Connecticut. It's also reflective. The results of these reports are really used to guide and to track improvement. And finally, it's collaborative. This accountability reporting system really got a lot of input from local leaders, and there are still committees at the State Department that exist to examine improvements. I'm going to give you an example. We're focusing on workforce development. Yet there's no place in this accountability system that reports those results. We have students that are actually working towards industry recognized credentials, and there's no place to collect that information yet. But the performance office at the state is well aware of it, and committees are beginning to work on this because this is an example. This is a live system that needs to be improved all the time. The final example of an improvement, well, several years ago, was to allow dual course credits to be part of this program. So it is collaborative and it is emerging as the schools emerge. I'm going to quickly go down these indicators. The first two, achievement and growth, in a December board meeting, we spent quite a bit of time discussing the results of this. And look at the very bottom of this slide, you can see the H. This represents high needs group. That's really referred to as the supergroup in this accountability model. So a student is high needs if they are either MLL students, SPED students, or they qualify for free and reduced lunch. One or more puts the students in that category. So when you look down these list of indicators, wherever you see an H, the metric is calculated not just for students overall, but also for what are the results of our high needs students for that category. Okay. Should I be clicking along here? Okay. So just to recap, indicator 1 and 2, that's probably where most of the points are gathered because each metric, a school or a district earns points. And for academic achievement, the highlight is performance of high needs for both ELA and for math, where our Norwalk students exceeded those of the state. For indicator 2, it was wonderful news because for the first time, Norwalk students exceeded the state results in growth for ELA high needs and ELA math. And that was really a great accomplishment that we were very proud of. And as a result of that, it really has impacted the whole result of these accountability indicators. Indicator 1 and 2 represent 800 out of 1,450 points that a district could earn. We've spoken a lot about participation is indicator 3. And there are 6 participation rates, 2 for ELA, all in high needs, 2 for math, all in high needs, and 2 for science. And the minimum requirement is 95% participation. So all students need to test. Indicator 4 is chronic absenteeism. I'm trying, and we've heard a lot about that. Indicator 5, chronic absenteeism, as you know, is not where we want it to be, but we are seeing a reduction each year. Our high needs, chronic absenteeism is below that of the state. Indicator 5 is preparation for post-secondary career readiness. It's really coursework. What percent of 11th and 9th graders are taking college and career-ready courses or dual enrollment courses? So that would be IB courses or AP courses. Indicator 6 is what percent of students are meeting benchmark on college and career exams, the SAT, IB, ACT, or what percent are earning 3 or more college credits before they graduate from high school through the dual credit courses. 8 is the 4-year graduation rate, and the target for graduation rates is 94%. We are at 92.6%. And every year for the past 4 years, we've seen incremental growth. And the greatest growth has been for our MLL population, went from 70% to almost 79%. Our 6th-year graduation, recognizing that some students need more time, our special education students, our MLL students. So this is looking at the graduation rate of our high-need students, the 6th-year cohort. Post-secondary entrance, what percent of students upon graduation are entering either 2-year or 4-year institutions? Now, this is an indicator that probably needs to change because we spoke about workforce development. What about the percent of students that have earned certificates to go into a trade? So this is something that needs to be addressed, and it is being addressed at the state level. Okay, physical fitness is part of this. Students in specific grades have to meet the health fitness zone. And finally, we have arts access. What percent of students grades 9 through 12 are taking at least one arts course? And that includes visual arts, dance, and all the traditional art courses. So we have a big list here. But let's take a look at really the key amount of points that are earned for each of the indicators. And we say that growth is very important, and this really shows it. 300 for elementary schools, they can earn up to 950 points. 300 of those points are for academics, ELA, math, and science. But 400 points, the red bar, is for growth. So the growth of both ELA and math, because in order to have growth, students have to be tested for 2 consecutive years. And we also look at the growth, the blue bar, of our LAS links, oral, and literacy. And finally, we have chronic absenteeism and phys ed. But you see a pattern looking at middle school, very similar. Middle school has an added indicator, and that's the indicator on track at the end of 9th grade with 6 credits in core subjects. So it goes back, it doesn't just look at high school, how many students at the high school in grade 9, but it goes back, how well prepared were they in 8th grade for those 9th grade courses? So that indicator on track for graduation with grade 9 credits applies to both the middle and high school. Now for high school, you see the 52% of the points that they earn is for academics, because high school students are only tested once in grade 11, so there's no measure of growth. So again, I guess the key takeaway here is the importance of growth at the elementary and middle school. Any questions here? Now, this is our accountability report for 2024-25. So you see the indicator. So I said there's 12 indicators, but indicator 1, indicator 2, and indicator 4 have multiple metrics that we measure. So there's actually 12 indicators, but 22 metrics. And if you see, we go from 2 F down to 4. So indicator 3, if you remember, is participation, but we don't get any credit for participation. That is a requirement. Again, 95% participation. If it's not met, it affects a school's category. So the next column, you see the result of each of those metrics. You see the target. Remember I said for graduation, the target is 94%. If in fact, for a metric, you meet the target, you get 100% of the points. And you see the column that says maximum points. To the left of that, you see the actual points that we earned. Now then you see the last 2 columns, the percent of points that Norwalk earned compared to the percent of points that the state earned. Wherever you see dark blue are areas where Norwalk earned a higher percentage of the points. So it ends up at 16 out of the 22 metrics, Norwalk earned a greater percent of points. Probably the most important, well, it is the most important number on this chart is at the very bottom, the accountability index. And Norwalk's index is 73.9. And that is the amount of points that they earned is 1,071.5 out of a maximum of 1,450. By comparison, the state's accountability index is 71.8, which is 1,017 points. So here we are, again, ahead of the state in terms of accountability. There's a second piece to this. And that is the gap indicators and also participation, which I'm having a hard time bringing up here. But participate, there we go. Participation is above 95% overall. And this really was a technical fix because last year, if you remember, we had lower participation. In the case of science, we were below 95%. We were at 94.1%. But now you see that that's been addressed. Now also, you see that Norwalk overall has a gap for the ELA performance index. And what that means is the performance index of the non-high needs students and high needs students. That difference is the gap, which you see in the size of the gap. That gap is compared to the state's average gap, plus 1 standard deviation. So the state's gap is about 12. Their standard deviation is about 4. So we end up having a state gap plus 1 standard deviation for ELA of 16.9. And that is above, our gap of 18.2 is above that. So that's why we have a gap. In 2024, we also had a gap in mathematics. That no longer exists. And just to give you an idea of, this is a complex problem. I mean, we call it an adaptive challenge here to reduce this gap. But if you go back to the 2024 report and you look at Norwalk's gap, the size has decreased for ELA, for math, for science, and that graduation gap. So we are addressing that hard problem of the gap. So this is evidence of that. So now we're looking at, or tracking over time, our accountability index, which is in blue, and comparing it to that of the state. And we're going back pre-pandemic to 2019. And you can see that in 2019, Norwalk was slightly ahead of the state. It was probably by 20 points. 2020, we had no testing. 2021, we did test, but we didn't have a requirement for accountability. So now we see the trend in 2022 through 2024. We're really neck and neck with the state. But what happened in 2025? We see that our index of 73.9 versus the state 71.8. It's a difference of 30 points. We are 30 points ahead of the state, and you can see that in the table at the bottom. So let's take a look. This really is comparing ourselves. 2023, 2024 results to 2024, 2025 in terms of percent of points earned for each of those 22 metrics. And wherever you see a green arrow, that's where we had the highest change, more points earned. And that was no surprise. It was for ELA growth for all students and high needs students, chronic absenteeism, all students, high needs students, and physical fitness. And you see one loss, and that was for post-secondary entrance. But keep in mind, what has happened? We have no way of tracking workforce development. So that's really what you might call it, a flaw or something in the system that needs to be updated, and it is being addressed by the state of Connecticut. So now we're just taking a look at accountability index for elementary schools and secondary schools over a 3-year period, and the change is the percent point change between 2024 and 2025. And you see it is very favorable. In several cases, I'm looking at Fox Run, double-digit change. I'm looking at Nathan Hale, double-digit change. I mean, it has, so all of the schools impact the district. And you see as a district, we have a change of 3.7 points. Now, accountability is important. And you can see that that is the first step in putting schools in categories. A Category 1 school is a school that has an accountability index of 85 or higher. A Category 2 school is between 70 and 84.9. A Category 3 between 0 and 69.9. And the first step in school categories is to identify your focus schools, and those are the bottom 10% of schools for high needs, whether it be growth for elementary and middle school, or whether it be the performance index for high needs for either ELA or math. And turnaround schools are the schools that have a performance index in the bottom 5%. So once those schools have been identified, then we have Category 1, 2, and 3. But the accountability index alone doesn't determine the category. We have to take a look at 2 other things. Participation, remember we said 6 participation rates, 95% minimum, and also there cannot be a gap. So you see here elementary schools, and you see their accountability index, and based upon that, you see where the accountability range is to place them in categories. But then in order to determine the final category, you have to say, did those schools have, did they meet the participation requirements? And did they have any gaps? So we see that we started with 9 schools that had an accountability index high enough to be a Category 2 school at the elementary level. But because of the gap outliers, we are now down to 5 schools. And maybe Dr. Estrella at this point would like to take over.
So before we go into that, any questions so far from the board in terms of the data that was presented thus far?
Tell us what happened with Kendall and Silvermine? They fell off a little bit. I don't.
Yeah, Kendall and Silvermine did fall off. I believe it was because of growth. Again, growth is the largest indicator that you get the most points for. But they are the only ones.
Those are the only two.
And if you look at 2023, the slide before this, I can get there. Let's see. Then we only had 3 schools that were 70 or above. Now we ended up having 9 schools that had an accountability index. So there's been great strides that have been made.
Oh, I know, that's absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions from the board?
Okay. Not a direct question, but just an observation. I remember the Commissioner of Education in Connecticut asked our school and the superintendent to come and explain, and I'm guessing that this index of accountability is one of the things that was highlighted by the commissioner. I mean, this is a big deal to do so well in growth. And I would just like to highlight this Jefferson and Marvin leaps and bounds. That's just wonderful. So am I right? That was one of the
Absolutely.
things she talked about. Okay. Excellent.
So because of the amount of growth that we had as a district, that was one of the main things that was highlighted. And as you can see, the accountability total relative to the state, we outperformed the state as well. So
I noticed that South Norwalk is not on here. Is that because they're not a full?
they haven't
School
had a
yet.
testing grade yet.
Okay, right, because it's only the upper grades.
This year will be their first time
Right,
testing.
grade 3.
Gotcha.
Any other questions?
So again,
Wait, one moment, please. So before we continue, I first want to acknowledge some of the people that are here. Is Concord Magnet School here today? Fox Run? Can you please come up? So Fox One was one of our Category 2 schools. Yes, like elevator pitch of what led to your results.
What led to our results? A dedicated community of staff, interventionists, my paras, just a lot of alignment, support, families, and students who gave it their all. So very proud of our school.
Thank you and congratulations. Naramek? Congratulations. Another Category 2 school. Can you speak to that elevator pitch of what led to your success?
Thank you, Marianne. She assured us we weren't going to speak tonight, so, yes.
Sorry to disappoint.
Yeah, so at Merrimack, as you know, we've been working really hard at becoming an IB school. And that is, just like Carla said, our dedicated staff. You know, we just can't do it without the staff, and that's where we are. Staff, hard work and dedication for the kids. So thank you.
Thank you. So the next Category 2 school also has been identified as a school of distinction for high needs growth, and that's Jefferson Magnet. So can the Jefferson team, if they're here, come up, leadership? If you're with your team, you're more than welcome to all come because it takes a team, right? So don't be shy.
Their home to come here tonight.
Exactly. They all have to come down. Let's go. It takes a team. So can you just speak to what led to your success?
I hate public speaking, but I do have prepared remarks. So I'm going to read directly through. And I really needed this team here behind me because without this team, I could not have gotten the work done. We're all scattered a little bit. Even Fabian, come over here. Some of our fifth graders last year, you taught in kindergarten. Come over here. All right, so thank you, Dr. Stray and members of the board. My name is Cesar Nina, school principal. I currently reside at 9 Petton Road. On behalf of the Jefferson Marine Science School community, it is an honor to receive this recognition and acknowledgement of our work. This achievement reflects the collective commitment of an entire school community working towards a shared goal. This past summer, we spoke about the importance of telling your story, and from the beginning. Because if you don't, someone who hasn't lived it or knows very little about it will tell it for you. Jefferson is the largest elementary school in Norwalk. Jefferson has the highest count of multilingual learners and Asian students in all of the elementary schools and even some middle schools. Our school-wide theme is marine science. We have a partnership with Maritime Aquarium. For the last 5 years, we implemented a K-5 dual language program. We implemented a K-3 co-top program. While expanding our school-wide theme and programs, we have engaged in improvement efforts. Together, we strengthen instructional coherence, deepened grade-level collaboration, and centered our work around student outcomes. We implemented weekly walkthroughs to monitor instructional practices and align them to higher quality standards. As a leadership team, we supported staff through cycles of support, targeted professional learning, and collaborated with expectations and ensured there was some sort of consistency across the classrooms. We departmentalized grades 3 to 5, aligning teachers to their areas of strength, and refined our multilingual learner service model to better meet the needs of our growing multilingual population. These decisions, supported through ongoing coaching, feedback, and collaboration, allowed us to build a more equitable and effective instructional system. While leadership matters, none of this progress would have been possible without the dedication, professionalism, and heart of our staff and families. While we didn't always agree on the path forward, we definitely agreed on a shared goal to improve student success. I want to recognize my entire team from last year. Again, we're all scattered throughout the district, but these folks I will always remember. Our literacy coach, Tracy O. Our math coach, Dr. Beckley. Dual language coordinator, Carolina Martino. And my number 2, assistant principal, Jeffrey Fazani. We also have school dean, Jonathan Kinney. And of course, I also had the support of instructional leadership team members, 2 of which are here, Julie Signor, Amy Luciana. Also, Stacy Fabian was our kindergarten teacher for many years. Also need to recognize I also need to recognize our multilingual and special education teams. Our improvement teachers, Christy Maloney, Erin Bernestad, Dr. Jeanette Moore, who provided a lot of training and intervention supports to our students, and a lot of district partners, which I would love to mention, but I know I need to get off the mic soon. Office staff, counselors, social workers, support teams, and most importantly, our talented teachers and paraprofessionals. We are proud of this milestone, but we remain grounded in the work ahead. The recognition affirms our direction, but does not mean that our work is done. We are still working hard to close achievement gaps. We will continue to build a culture where every student is seen, supported, challenged, and celebrated. Jefferson's story is one of growth and resilience. We are still writing our story. Thank you for your continued partnership and support.
And Mr. Nina, thank you for your leadership and the work that you've done in collaboration with your team. Thank you for your dedicated staff for the outstanding work that led to this accomplishment. The next school that,
Dr. Estrada, I'd like to say one thing about Jefferson.
of course,
Jefferson is one of 27 schools in the entire state that had exceeded that 10% growth for both ELA and math. One of 27.
kudos to the team. Thank you for sharing it, Diane. The next school that I would like to welcome forward is Marvin Elementary School, led by Sue Ellen. Don't be shy. The whole team is coming forward. Come on down.
I'm gonna put down my speech to all of this, to just this part. But since Mr. Nina was verbose, I'm going to go through the whole thing.
Go all the way.
All the way.
All the way.
So Marvin has worked deliberately and collectively to strengthen mathematics instruction and ensure that our high needs learners grow at the same rate as their peers. Our shifts haven't been flashy, but they've been steady and strategic. We've recognized that sustaining and deepening growth, particularly for students with higher needs, require consistent structures, targeted support, and a unified approach. The increases we see in both mathematic performance and math growth, especially the rise of our high need students, reflect that shared commitment across the building. A major factor has been the stability and expertise provided by a consistent math coach. Laura Monahan, who's not here tonight, her role has allowed us to maintain coherent instructional practices, strengthen teacher content knowledge, and ensure that classroom planning is grounded in student data. In the upper grades, our long-standing departmentalization model, which we've been doing in 5th grade for about 10 years, and expanded to 4th grade and then a couple of years in 3rd grade, has created a deeper instructional focus. Teachers are able to specialize, collaborate more intentionally, and design more responsive lessons that meet student needs. I think I'm going to mention here is the fact that Jeff Magnano, who was a math coach, brought to us the building thinking classrooms. And two of our math teachers who are in 4th grade and 5th grade, Lexi, she's our math teacher in 4th grade, and she has embraced building thinking classrooms. And I'm happy to report that Misty came over and videotaped both Lexi and Michelle teaching so that we can share that teaching with other schools in the district. Makes me very proud of them. So the departmentalization has created deeper understanding focus. Teachers are able to specialize, collaborate more intentionally, and design a more responsive lessons that meet student needs. So before the district came up with WIN, we had something called WYNN. It was what you need now. And I'm going to give Vida Ekstrom a shout out for that. She was one of our 4th grade teachers. She's a 5th grade teacher now. She was saying that was what her daughter was doing in one of her schools. So we brought that idea. It was that intentional intervention. And it has turned into what we call now WIN, W-I-N. And the decision to use that time for skills that fall after the state window assessment, what we did is it allowed us to close gaps in prerequisite knowledge, and while still keeping students on track for future units. This structure helped our high need students accelerate in meaningful ways without losing access to grade level content. More importantly, incredible growth of our high need students represents the collective efforts of the entire Marvin staff. I'm going to introduce them. We have Martina. That's why she says her last name for me. She's an MLL teacher, and she has been working wonderfully at Marvin. We have Kim D'Amato, who's another MLL teacher. These are people who are dedicated to work with students who have high needs. We have a third grade teacher, Sam Marzulli. Third grade, right? Yeah. We have, so I changed grades around this year. We have fifth grade teacher, Erica Cruz. She teaches fifth grade social studies and science. We have our school social worker, our school counselor here, Rachel Sandler. And Mr. Nina can't take credit for Stacy Fabian anymore because she's now part of Marvin. He also can't take credit for Jeffrey Forzani because he's now part of Marvin as well. And lastly, we have Alexis Esperance. So it's not just the teachers, it's the specialists, the support personnel that have embraced a shared responsibility for every learner's success. This is not the product of one initiative or one individual. It's a result of sustained collaboration, thoughtful structures, and a school community that believes deeply in the potential of all students. It's about the culture of teamwork and doing whatever it takes for students. It's the staff's consistency, their willingness to collaborate, and their belief in our kids is why we're here. And I want to mention something that Sandra Feo said as I walked in. Marvin in 2018 was a school of distinction for our math scores. So 2018, Diane showed you, we didn't do testing in 2019-20. Since 2000, when we started taking the test again, 2021, our scores are going like this. That aim line, you want to see that aim line. We will be right back to where we were prior to the pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you. And I want to give a special shout out to Sue Ellen for supporting us and allowing us to use Jeff Farzani for some time at Silvermine Elementary. Thank you, Jeff, for your leadership during your time at Silvermine as well. So as you can see, it takes a collective effort, and we're so proud not only of the leaders in this room, but the leaders across the organization that have allowed us to attain this achievement. We are also very proud of our teachers, paraeducators, and support staff that work collectively with our school leadership to make sure that every child has what they need. Our coaches, our interventionists, it takes a group effort so that our schools continue to thrive, particularly post-pandemic, where many districts are still stagnant. We are in an upward trajectory and moving progress forward. And it takes a village, and not only the village in this room, but the village across this district to make this possible. Diane?
So now we'll take a look at our secondary schools. Here we go. So we see the accountability indices, and for our 2025 schools, and we see that Nathan Hale and West Rocks, this was really the first time that I could remember that we had a middle school that had an accountability index over 70. But because of a gap at Nathan Hale in mathematics and a gap at West Rocks in science, their final category did end up being category 3. But in terms of gains that they made, if you remember, Nathan Hale made close to 12 percentage points. West Rocks, I believe, made 7 percentage points. So we just next year we have to make sure that we get a category 2 middle school. As far as our high schools go, we see that CGS certainly was almost close to a category 1. Well, 85 is a category 1, but because of a gap and because of participation, they were down to a 3. The good news for Norwalk High, although you see focus school, they got 1 year of credit towards, hopefully next year they will no longer be a focus school. And as far as gains, I think we have to really remember how close both Nathan Hale and West Rocks were. They did have a gap, but their gap was under 0.5 of what it needed to be it was 0.5 over what it needed to be to actually not exist. So it was a fraction. They missed it by a fraction. And, you know, it's sad, but it's hopeful that they can do it. They can do it. Finally, we're taking a look at our accountability index in terms of other large Connecticut cities. And we have been number 1 for 3 consecutive years. But remember, because of the transparency, anyone can look and compare Norwalk's results to any other district. We could look at any school in Norwalk and compare it to another school in the state of Connecticut. We used to have something called district reference groups. The state really doesn't support using them any longer because the metrics, the data that determine the groups, the data is 20 years old. And finally, there's a graphic that you've seen, and really it's a positive impact on all the work that's been done, the results. This is work that's been done over multiple years, but it really seems to be taking off at this point. Our literacy vision, our portrait of a graduate, critical thinking, professional learning, our improved school culture as evidenced through the Panorama Survey, the reduction in chronic absenteeism, our math curriculum redesign, our school improvement planning, and the use of formative assessments. All those pieces fit together and over multiple years are really paying off for us. And thank you for your attention.
Any final questions about the accountability data before we transition to the next item from the board?
I was going to say no questions, but remarkable work that everyone is doing. And thank you for all the staff, because I know that that's a hard lift, especially after COVID. Thank you.
I know this district has many challenging interests, and so the work that all of you have done collectively, the teachers, support staff, central office folks, you are to be commended to what appears that you are actually closing the gap. I've been here long enough to know when we had a really, really big gap. And so I commend you for your work. Is it on?
Just to add my voice to the excellent work, closing a gap from high needs to the high performing students is what public school education is about, in my view. And we have become, through your work, a leader in not just the state of Connecticut, but in the nation. So I'm just very excited about your work and the strategies used and the community that we're in.
Anyone else? All right. Okay, so to the next item, part of the superintendent report is the 2026-27 school calendar. It's in your packet. I just want to go over the calendar. After conversations with different constituents across the district and bargaining groups, we decided to bring the draft calendar with the start date of the new academic school year being Wednesday, the 26th of August, and having convocation on the 24th, PD day on the 25th, and the first day of a new teacher, well, the day of new teacher orientation being August 21st. The holiday break for December, you can see there our February break, and our spring break is scheduled for the third week in April. Our last day of school would be June 17th of that academic school year. Questions from the board?
Looking at the start of the year, is that fewer PD days for the teachers than they usually have, or is it usually just 2 days?
So we had this year convocation and 2 consecutive PD days. It was in conversations with NFT, they had recommended just doing one at the start of the school year. The other one was placed on January 15 rather than at the start of the school year. So it was moved. So it's the same number of PD days, just where it's situated is different.
Gotcha. I'm just sort of thinking of being sure our teachers have enough time to prepare at the start of the year, but
so
I hear that's coming, if it's coming from NFT conversations, that's good.
Yeah, one of the things that we discussed, particularly with NFT, is designating a chunk of time during the PD day so that it's clearly delineated when classroom setup will be set. I think one of the things that we heard was a lot of times teachers have a hard time focusing on professional development when they are so concerned about setting up their spaces. So it made sense to move the PD day to January rather than stack them at the beginning of the school year.
So setup time is built into the PD day on the 24th and 25th?
That is the plan.
Okay.
Other questions?
So next year or another time when
Duali's not at it.
Right, but it's on a weekend, I guess, right?
No, I know that there's 2 holidays that have been brought up as recommendations. It was Three Kings Day and Diwali. We looked at our attendance pattern and we didn't see an impact in our attendance. So and just because it also pushes our end of date really far off, we would if we were going to add additional holidays anywhere, we would have to compromise other things. So it's something that we have to keep in mind as we plan forward. We list all of the holidays in the document to build consciousness, particularly for educators to know when holidays are happening and be considerate of students who might be taking that time off. But it doesn't mean that we are honoring. Eid is the one that is in our calendar, and that's March 10th. Which is the one that the board approved to add, I think 2 years now. Yeah.
So I see total number of days 182, but legally it's 180, correct?
Correct. But we've had 182.
So that's our buffer for snow days or any
What about
other.
for snow days? But if we needed to, we have used it in the past as a
Right.
buffer.
Okay, because I mean, obviously, our last day here right now is the Thursday early dismissal. That Friday is a holiday. So ideally, we don't want to have to flip into the week of the 21st. So if we had snow days, we could lean into
We could lean into those.
those 2 days.
Which is one of the reasons why we are not staggering kindergarten like we used to.
Mhm.
And also because some parents expressed concern, especially those on the second day, when we had that staggered format.
Right.
And we had received some parent feedback, concern about that. I know that given the conversations we had with NFT, there were some concerns from the staff in terms of how overwhelming that is. But we talked about trying it for a second year because we only had this in place 1 year, see how that feels, and then like have a conversation about the possibility of making adjustments if we need to. Same thing with the parent-teacher conference structure. We are hearing some concerns about the number of early dismissals. Yeah, it is year 1, so we want to give something more than just 1 year before we make a determination of whether or not it works or not. And we've spoken about this as well.
Yeah, I think giving 2 years on that is good. I will be interested at the end of this year to hear the feedback from the teachers about how they felt about the conference structure that we're in, like this right now. It'll be
I
good
think
to
from the
hear.
teachers and from the parents. The parents are the ones I've heard concerns about childcare.
I just wanted to point out, so it looks like early dismissal, the March 29th, the day after Easter. Just that's not listed on the right, just when we go back through.
It's not on the right, I see it here.
Easter is listed, but not, oh, it's listed at the bottom.
No, it's there. March 29, 2-hour early dismissal, PD for staff.
It's out of order. Okay, sorry, it's out of
Yeah.
order.
Any other thoughts, recommendations? If not, I hand this back to the chair. If the board is okay to set a motion to move the calendar for 26, 27 to action.
Thank you, Dr. Estrella. I'd like to set a motion to add 26, 27 school calendar year to our actions for vote this evening. Mary Ellen, seconded by Jasmine. Thank you. Okay, we are on the action consent section of our agenda. This is where we can vote on multiple items at once. If there's anything on this list that you would like to discuss or have questions on before I move these items for a vote.
I was just going to say, I was looking at the trips, and one of them is the band, I think, going to Worlds in Dayton, which I believe is because they won at Nationals. So I just wanted to recognize that was exciting to see.
Yep, that's wonderful.
I know we're going to recognize them, but it was one of the trips that I was excited about.
Very excited. Okay, so I need a motion for approval of personnel, approval of budget transfers, approval of trips, and approval of minutes. Jasmine, seconded by Mary Ellen. All in favor, please say aye. Raise your hand. Thank you. Howard?
Aye.
Thank you. That's unanimous. Following actions, we have appointment of school preparedness and safety supervisor.
So I'm putting forward Vidal Gonez. Did I say it right? Okay. Gonez. Can you please come forward? He has been an SRO in our community for a number of years. He's been one of the officers that has supported Norwalk High School and really understands the safety and security protocols at not only the NPD level, but also the district level because of the work he's done in collaboration with schools. Sandra Fayois, do you want to share a few words regarding Vidal?
What made you think that, Dr. Estrella?
I don't know.
So thank you, board, and thank you, Dr. Estrella. It's such an honor to finally be here and present. I actually have two of our school preparedness and safety supervisors with me, obviously after your approval of Vidal Gonez. So for the last 20 years, Vidal has served as an NPD police officer. Since 2013, he's actually been an SRO. He started as a middle school SRO, and then most recently was the SRO at Norwalk High. So this made him uniquely qualified for this position because not only has he been a member of the NPD for as long as has been stated, but so much of that was dedicated to our Norwalk Public Schools family. And so then when the position was vacated and Vidal applied, and there were actually many applicants that were very, very qualified, Vidal was able to talk about our student, our staff, our protocols, and just our culture in a way that was really intriguing and really actually inspirational because of his approach with students. So with that, I'm very excited to bring you an excellent candidate. And we have Jonathan also that has been such a nice addition to our family. And I hope that you find Vidal as uniquely qualified as I have, along with the other members of the interview committee. So thank you.
And I also know that there's some Norwalk High School folks here who have worked with Vidal who are excited that he's going to be in this new role. I just wanted to acknowledge that because it speaks to the work that he's been doing in partnership with our schools. Vidal, do you want to share a few words with the board?
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you for this opportunity or just a chance to at least be presented to the board. I've served Norwalk for 21 years as a police officer. Used to work at Cablevision prior to that here in Norwalk. And working with the school has been an inspiration for myself to be able to assist the kids and help them in whatever way possible, even not even just as a police officer, but as guidance, and just to kind of help them move forward, but I am truly honored to be able to serve this community and now look forward for the opportunity to serve the Board of Education in another level of, of support. Thank you.
Any questions from the board for Vidal?
No, I don't have a question, but I would just like to say, Fidel, welcome, to be able to be a part of the team and to bring your experience overall. I just think that's, very important, and your knowledge and your background as well, myself being in that field. And I just think that when you bring your knowledge and your expertise to this community, it improves it. And so, I truly welcome you, and I'm looking forward working with you as well.
Thank you, Mr. White. Appreciate you.
Yes. Hi, Mr. Gonez. So congratulations and thank you for your service to the city of Norwalk and to Norwalk Public Schools. When I first saw your candidacy and your resume, I was so impressed with all of your service. So thank you so much. Safety and security on school campuses is something that's been near and dear to my heart since the beginning of my almost 4-year term. So I'm winding up here.
Right.
And so I'm really thrilled that you're stepping into this role because our students deserve it, our teachers deserve it, our community deserves it. So I'm really, really happy to see you, stepping up here. So thank you so much and good
Thank
luck.
you. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So I need a motion for the appointment of School Preparedness and Safety Supervisor Vidal Gonez. Kara,
motion it.
seconded by
Howard?
Howard White. Thank you. All in favor, please say aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
Thank you. Unanimous. Welcome.
You officially start tomorrow.
Next item on the agenda, I need a motion for the 2026-2027 board meeting dates. Jasmine, seconded by Ashley. All in favor, please say aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
That's unanimous. Thank you. And the next items we will do together because they all fall together. If there's any questions at the moment for any of the following policies.
So I'm not on the policy committee, but I am really familiar with where these came from the state level. And I advocated for the Freedom to Read bill at the state level. And I'm really excited about how we've worded our policies to, protect the books in our schools and our librarians who are incredible professionals, make sure that every child is seen. And so I'm excited at the way all of these are worded and that we are jumping on following that state statute so quickly.
Yes, they were reviewed for a couple of months, and I have to say thank you for the library media specialists at the schools that were at our meetings also. So we're going to combine, remove current policy 6013 guidelines for the selection of library materials, policy 6013A, collection, development, and maintenance policy, policy 6013B, library display and programming policy, and policy 6013C, library material review and reconsideration. Motion? Ashley, seconded by Janine. All in favor, please say aye. Raise your hands.
Aye.
Thank you. Unanimous. Thank you very much, everyone. And next item is our monthly financial report. Oh, sorry. Yes, we added the calendar. I need a motion for the 2026-2027 school calendar. Sherry, seconded by Ashley. All in favor, please say aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
Thank you. Unanimous. All right, now, Mr. Lonnie, your turn.
All right, JD is gonna help me load the presentation. All right, well, good evening, board. It is hard to top schools of distinctions, but we'll see how we do. So I just wanted to spend some time and give you an update on a year-to-date budget update on where we are. The first slide is just looking at the current budget. As you know, the original budget was approved at 242.7 million. We did receive the additional 4.5 million appropriation from the city to reinstate a little over 50 positions. That brought us to a total budget of 247.2, which is a 5.9% increase. You recall that as part of this process, there was an original appropriation of 6.5 million. 2 million of that was transferred directly to the health insurance fund. At the beginning of the year, the council voted to transfer 1.5 million. And last night, the Common Council approved the transfer of the remaining 3 million. So the full 4.5 million has been appropriated by the council to the Board of Ed. And so that action took place last night. So tomorrow we will be transferring those funds into the budget. So we've completed that exercise, and we're thankful for the city and the council to have completed that process in a timely fashion. I also want to share with you by way of an update, each year, we started to do this 4 years ago. We began to put together our budget book. And our goal is to ensure transparency, to try and be as open and communicative as we can. Our budget book doesn't only include financial information, but we view it, one, as a way to communicate to the public. We talk about our goals, our strategic plan, what's happening within our schools. We also use it as a way to kind of show what the priorities of the district are from the Board of Ed in terms of where your policy lies in terms of funding, what you prioritize. And so that's the second element of our book. The third element is we use it to kind of show what our financial plan is. Within this budget book, not only do we include this year's information, but we also project into the future. We also include in here our capital budget communication. And so the book is more than just numbers, but it's stories to the numbers. And we're grateful that the Association of School Business Officials International has once again awarded our district the Distinguished Meritorious Budget Award for the book that we produced this year. Thank you. So thank you to cabinet members and our principals also contribute to this book. Obviously, the board, superintendent. I know board chair has a message in there talking about the direction. Superintendent has a message there. So it is truly a team effort, and thankful not only for the finance team, but for everybody else as well. So just going into the budget, as I said, our general fund, adjusted general fund was 247.3 million. We now have all of it appropriated because the 4.5 has been appropriated. Year to date, we've spent a little over 71.2 million. This is in line with where we would be last year. It seems a little bit higher than last year. Part of that has to do with the number of pay periods. This year in October, which is when this report ends, we had 3 pay periods. We had 3 Fridays this year in October, whereas last year we had 2. So it does show that increased number, but really it's more of a timing perspective. Salaries and benefits, which is the next slide, continue to be our big drivers of the budget. Again, with the $38.4 million, that is that timing of the payroll, but it is consistent with where we would be. This does include payment for those 52 positions that were reinstated with that $4.5 million that we got from the district, from the city, sorry. Benefits, which is the next slide, we transfer benefits from the general fund into the health insurance account. The majority of this is for our employee health insurance. We do have things like Social Security, workers' comp that are part of the benefits that we provide. But again, that's consistent with where we would be. We do 4 installments of transfers. This reflects the initial transfer, 8.9. And so we will have 3 more 8.9 transfers through the end of the year. We are tracking benefits closely. The challenge with benefits is we estimate based on a census that we do very early in the year. We get the final census, I believe, in March or April. And so as we onboard new employees, you may have had a position that was a family coverage, a mother and 2 kids and a husband, or a father, 2 kids and a husband, or whatever, but it was a different composition. That person leaves the organization and then another person replaces them who may be single. Or the reverse, you have a single employee who resigns or leaves the organization, and then they're replaced by somebody who has family coverage. So we try our best to estimate what the benefits would be, but it does fluctuate over time, and we try to make adjustments as we do throughout the year. The next one is professional technical services. These are services that we pay that we don't do ourselves internally. So these includes things like our custodial contracts, our security contracts that we have, that we've outsourced. Again, these are consistent with where we would be. Most of these are contractual. They do increase over time, like if you have a 5% increase in rent, for example, that's something we'd include in this as well. The next one is property services. These include custodial services, but just the general expenses of keeping a building, utilities, water, sanitation, those types of things. But again, these are also consistent with where you would want us to be this year. The next one is the other student services. This is by far the biggest and the most challenging because including in this one is, Rob, special education, out of district transportation, and also out of district placement. As you know, we're always challenged with special education. We try our best to budget. This year, fortunately, we were able to budget much closer to what we anticipate our special education expenses would be. You'll recall the past 2 years, we had underfunded this, and we needed to make a number of transfers throughout the year to kind of stay whole. So this year, we're closer to it, but I think even in looking at some of the projections, I think we may slightly exceed what we have in there just because of the nature of special education, but we're monitoring it closely. And then supplies and materials is supplies and materials. Again, it's consistent. Equipment, most of our equipment is paid for in the capital budget. We have a small amount of equipment expenses that are paid in the operating budget, and so this reflects what that is. And then other objects are things like dues for things like the Association of School Boards and those types of things. So these are in other objects because they don't necessarily fit cleanly into those other areas. And then the transfers to food services, as you know, we've had conversations, and I have another slide on this. Each year, we budget to transfer funding to the food services account from the general fund. You'll see that last year in FY25, we did not do any transfers into the food services account just because of the challenges we had with the budget. Our goal is to attempt to make up some of those transfers this year. This year, we did budget for $0.6 million in our initial budget. All of that, as you see year to date, that has also been transferred. But as you know, through the efforts of the superintendent, we did reinstate our CEP program, our CEP lunch program in our schools. And we also did, the city will be providing us an additional $200,000. This was also approved last night when they did the $3 million. So we anticipate that transfer happening before the end of the week. And I have been in touch with the McCord's Foundation on the $200,000 that they're contributing to. I actually sent an email to them today. We got a response. They had needed some information, bank information, so they could send that information. So by the time we report on this next week, we will have received those two components of revenue coming in so that we could reinstate the CP program. And then grants is grants. We were fortunate this year. We were worried initially with the big one, the Magnet School Program, that $15 million over 5 years. We did receive word that it is funded for this year. So we're looking forward to maintaining that. We still don't know the remaining 2 years, but we are following up on that as well. From the state level, our Alliance grant did go up $1.1 million this year. In the governor's biennial budget for the FY27, we are not projecting an additional increase, so that kind of has flatlined. And then there was the additional $800,000 that was approved by the state legislature for special education. This is the second year of that $800,000. We're still not sure whether that's coming next year. We've tried to follow up with the state. Still unclear whether we're getting it. We're hopeful, but we haven't received official confirmation on that either. But from the grant side, we're pleased with where we are. I did want to spend some time and talk about the food services account. As I mentioned earlier, we did receive the additional $200,000 from the city, and we're looking to receive $200,000 from the Court Foundation. With those two components, we had initially hoped that would keep us whole, that would cover what we had budgeted for the year. And unfortunately, there were two things that happened between July and today. We have two major grants, and this has been happening with a lot of our grants. The fresh fruit and vegetable grant, when we had put this budget together, we had actually estimated 8 schools would be receiving that grant. When we put in for that grant, we were notified that only 4 sites received that grant. And so as a result, that is a $145,000 decrease in what we had projected as revenue. Likewise, for our supper program, we had also anticipated 10 schools receiving that grant, and we had factored that when we put the budget together. When we received word of the grant award, only 4 schools were awarded that grant, and so that is a decrease of $280,000 from our initial projection. And so all combined in terms of loss of grants, about $466,000 in grant losses. We've been working with Chartwells also because the reimbursement we get for our school lunches is based on the number of school lunches that our students eat. So when we had initially put our budget together, when we estimated for the school lunches, we had estimated for the number of lunches in the prior year. Part of the challenge this year is when we started the school year, we had notified parents that we were not participating in CEP. So parents had started to make alternative plans in terms of lunches for their children. So after reinstating the CEP, we have had some children start taking our school lunches, but we're still not where we were last year in terms of our school lunch counts. So this was based on an initial projection. I believe we did this in September. Chartwell's helped us just look at how many students were taking school lunches at that point, and we tried to project to the end of the year. With that decreased count, we're estimating we could lose about 400,000 in lost revenue for reimbursements. We're reviewing this number because the Food Services Department has been doing advocacy campaign and informational campaigns that CEP is back, the value of school lunches. And so Chartwells will keep revising these projections. And so that deficit may decrease over time. But as of today, we're anticipating about an $800,000 shortfall in the school lunch fund, even after we receive those additional fundings from the city and the McCords. So we're following this one closely, but we'll keep you updated. But I did want you to just be aware of where we are with the school lunch program, and I'd be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Thanks, Linda. So I know last week in our finance committee meeting, we talked about the lunch program and the deficit that we're seeing because of there is no CEP. Now there is CEP and this kind of like communication gap with our families. And we talked about trying to make sure that our families are very, aware and clear and understand that free lunch is back for all. So I'm just wondering, what are we doing to get this out, like, to the community in terms of communication and making sure that everybody fully understands this?
I think Sandra will come speak for her team. There have been some deliberate efforts that the food services team led by Jill and communications team, but I'll toss it to Sandra.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That's an excellent question. And what we've done is we've actually worked really closely with the communication team to promote our school services, school lunch services and our breakfast program. So there's been two things. One has been for us to actually show that our school lunches and the scratch cooking that takes place at the school, so that we could just re-educate families on the quality of the food that we're serving and the options that are out there for families. The second thing, it's for our breakfast program, which we saw a really great, we always call it school lunch, but it includes breakfast. It's just food services. But our breakfast program, which is where we saw a really big decline, we are actually encouraging families to just take it for snack, because you don't have to eat it during a set time. So really just getting families reacclimated to the program and to show them the offerings. We've been trying to advertise like our halal options, our vegetarian or vegan options, to also attract those families that maybe students have dietary restrictions, so that we can show them that we can actually meet that need at school. What we have been discovering from families is that younger children whose routine was established, that they were either eating breakfast at home when there was no CEP or taking lunch from home, are having a tough time readjusting to a new routine. So, we're being optimistic that we could bring those numbers back up, but based on what we are doing right now, which is what we have to base it for this projection, it's down compared to last year. But we've been working closely with Chartwells and our communications department, and we're open to ideas.
Social media.
Oh yes, we post on our social media, but maybe we need to start that again.
We've also seen, when we had sent the notification that we're not participating in CP, parents using My School Bucks had started loading their accounts so that their students could swipe. We are seeing requests for reimbursement for families that had funded My School Bucks. So now that their children don't need the My School Bucks because the meals are free, we have been processing in finance refunds for parents that had paid. So we are seeing that parents are coming back, and we're watching that closely together with some of the efforts that the food services team is doing as well.
And also maybe a press release to local outlets.
Great ideas.
And then looking at the grants, these are federal grants, right?
Yes.
Did we assume like that incorrectly, or we assumed what we've had in the past?
Yes, we assume what we had in the past.
Okay. Just, I don't know.
Sure.
I mean, they just didn't give, we have received in the past, and we just assumed, we based on our assumption that they would.
Yeah, these were grants that we've gotten year over year. So it's always been a part of our assumption. This has been it was a huge lesson for us in how we make these assumptions also, which is sort of having these grants be part of our assumptions. What we learned, it's that the reason why we didn't qualify for some of the grants, it's not because our district demographics have changed, but that other districts within the state have demonstrated a higher need. So we fell in the list of priority, not because we've changed, but because other districts have changed. That's how it was explained to us, which makes sense if you think about our numbers having changed. So what is it that could have changed? And it's because everybody is pulling from the same pool.
Federal affects local, that came up. People don't realize how national issues affect you locally, and that's a prime example.
Yeah, like SNAP benefits are another thing that makes a difference, because families qualifying for SNAP, now there's some more stringent qualifications to be able to actually access SNAP. And there was all of that, just the government shutdown and all of those qualifications. However, we had received notice that these grants were down prior to that, but that I would assume may impact next year. So it's just sort of the federal level and how those grants trickle down to the state. And these were federal grants through the USDA. Mm-hmm.
And as we're developing the FY27 budget, which we'll be bringing to you at your next work session, we are revising these assumptions. We're lowering these assumptions so that we have a more realistic assumption, so that to be more conservative. No. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, committee representative reports. Do we have any reports?
I attended a CES meeting, which is in Trumbull. And one thing I'd like to share is that their December meeting is pretty famous. It's one where they have a breakfast for legislators and superintendents and board members and interested people go and listen to the legislators, what they're doing in education. And usually the chair of the education committee will be there and other legislators. So it's an open situation where questions can be asked and they're answered, and concerns of this part of Connecticut in terms of education is so it's a great breakfast, and it's December 5th from 8:30 to 11:30. December 5th. Everybody's welcome.
Just a quick update on the facilities side. So we did not have a formal facilities meeting this month, or we won't have one. The month's not over yet. But we will be having a meeting on Tuesday, December 9th, which will be our December or our November meeting in early December at 5 o'clock at the new school in Sono. Uh-oh. And on that agenda will be the topic of the naming of the new school in South Norwalk, if anyone's interested and wants to join. 5 o'clock at the new school. Sure. Tuesday, December 9th at 5 p.m. will be the Facilities Planning Committee meeting, and on the agenda will be the naming of the new elementary school in Sono. At the new school in Sono, correct.
I want to remind everyone to attend the town hall tomorrow, which will be here at this school at 5:30.
This one is about the policy committee. We voted on the policy of concerning books and their display and patterns and procedures of possible banning of a book. And what I want to say is that on the background is the state came up with a plan, and part of how that occurred is people from our librarians were a major part of informing what's important and what isn't. One Aubrey Good is one that I would like to commend for her work, and that Norwalk really played a role. And Bob Duff was the one that presented the bill, and it passed. And so we are we voted today on having a really clear pattern of what to do and how to take care of our books and display them. And as you were saying, the freedom to read, what is that was free to read? We're in a strong position because of all that collaborative work.
All right. Last item on the agenda is board member announcements. This is where any board member wants to announce anything that's going on in their life, to get the public get to know us a little bit better. Any events coming up?
Again, I want to remind people to come. It's very important to me. It was something that came up a lot during the campaign time, that people were concerned that we weren't being transparent. So I really encourage folks to come to the town hall. It'll be the first of many for folks to come and hear how we are developing the budget and to hear from them what's important. And this will be an opportunity to hear back from us. So there'll be an opportunity for some back and forth discussion.
Thank you, Sherry. A little bit about myself. Another board that I am honored to be on is Norwalk Mutual Aid. And Norwalk Mutual Aid and Norwalk Public Schools have partnered together, and there's going to be a Thanksgiving community giveaway Thursday the 20th at 3 p.m. right here at Concord Street. Also, we are still taking donations. We'll be distributing frozen turkeys, hams, or chicken, and other sides so that families can have a Thanksgiving. And we're also looking for volunteers. So please reach out, donate, or volunteer. Thank you. It starts at 3. And with that, if there's nothing else, I want to say thank you for everybody, the team, all the hard work, Dr. Estrella, also our IT team, that without them, we can't have these Zoom meetings. And with that, I'd like a motion to adjourn. Jasmine, seconded by Mary Ellen. Good night.